look, I give you a lot of credit. We haven't spoken to you since, but last year going to the game at Nebraska, we were on here, and you told Des and I that you thought it was a pretty good chance that Nebraska can give Michigan a run for their money, and they did. I dismissed it. I'm like, no way. Adrian Martinez is a turnover magnet. You can't trust him. And lo and behold, he did turn the ball over late. But it definitely was not a cakewalk by no stretch of the imagination. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Since the dismissal of Scott Frost, I anticipated that the program will go one of two ways. The guys either get galvanized and rally and play some really inspired football down the stretch of the season. Maybe not in terms of the final results, but a lot more competitive. Or they'll cripple and just fall apart. And I think it's been more of the first, that they play some inspired football. So, what's kind of your feel from the program as it is right now?
Well, no, you hit the nail on the head right there. Mickey Joseph has, kind of energized everybody basically, and you'll never hear anybody say a bad word about the job Mickey Joseph's been doing, and he's obviously setting himself up for a head coaching job here, if not at Nebraska, somewhere else. And you took a team that was uninspired. Quite frankly, hasn't even been tackling, for years in practice, and that showed. And with Mickey Joseph and Bill Bush being elevated to their positions, that two of the most energizing guys that you've ever been around anyway, and it's really changed the whole demeanor of the team and inspired them, to play some really good football. Now, they've had their problems, obviously, but, it's definitely a way better looking product than it was, say, in Dublin against Northwestern in week 0, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, I like the way they're playing, but, it's a little bit, obviously they have to win out to make a bowl game. And that's a pretty tough task when you're playing Michigan on the road, and then you got Wisconsin at home, and then you got to go to Iowa. So it's not looking great, but I can tell you this: they haven't not given up. That's their goal is still in front of them to get to a bowl game, and unfortunately, we don't really know what the status of the quarterback position is going to be. In Ann Arbor there at 3:30 Eastern time on Saturday.
So I've got a question for you, Greg. But before I ask, Cool Mo T says, unless Michigan runs a spread, they will lose to Georgia 2 years in a row. Can't bully ball them. I would agree you can't bully ball Georgia, but I think Michigan's run game can have success against Georgia. It may not be 60, 70-yard runs like we've basically seen the last couple of weeks, but I think it is possible. And then also Nick says, "Hey, Des, Alabama's O-line sucks." Hey, we can all agree on that.
We'll take some of them here in Lincoln.
I'm sure you'll gladly take them. What's interesting? I want to comment on that super chat regarding the bully ball. Michigan doesn't have to bully Georgia. That's not going to happen, but they can be effective. No, you're not going to see any big gash runs right by Corm or Dobbin Edwards. But if you can manage 3.5, 4 yards to carry, if you're able to keep JJ in the offense ahead of schedule, then you give yourself a pretty good chance. Mind you, you have to remember this isn't the same dominant defense that Georgia had last year. So, and you're a lot more dynamic this year offensively. So, and that's why it goes back to the point that me and Des have hammered, which is the importance of getting JJ comfortable in making passes when he has to, right? Because in a game like going against Georgia, he would have to do that. Like sometimes the run may get stopped for no yards, and all of a sudden you're at 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and you got guys pinning their ears coming for you. You got to make a key pass here and there. So it's not so much about the bully ball, but being balanced and staying ahead of schedule. And I think Michigan has the capability to do that. But that's what goes back to: are the coaching staff doing things week by week to prepare JJ for that situation? But no matter, keep going.
I also wanted to highlight this comment by Antoine, who is always on our channel, and thank you so much, Antoine, for joining us. But says that Alabama's been kind of bad the last 2 to 3 years, which I want to make sure that we're clear. In 2020, Alabama won the national championship. That would be within this 2 to 3 years. Well, I would say national championship is there, and then also went to a national championship after winning one. Granted, they lost to Georgia, so yes, I'll get that. But I mean, within a 3-year span, the last 3 years, even say they don't make it this year to the playoff, which I don't think they will. We're talking about winning a national championship and being in the national championship as well. Even removing this year
with about 4 minutes left.
This can be connected to Nebraska as well, especially in the late 90s, you know, and the 97 year and stuff like that. Sometimes when a program, you have programs like Alabama, where they're rolling so much and for so long, where they almost seem like immortal, right? Like, you know, you just can't beat those guys. They're too good, and if you so happen to be close in the game and have the chance to beat them, you essentially have to play a perfect game for 60 minutes. And the minute that you slip up, that last 2 minutes, right? You've been playing perfect up to that point. You could be down 3, and the game could easily end with you losing by 10 or 17, because they can roll you that quickly. The last couple of years, I think to Antoine's point, Alabama has seemed mortal, you know, and part of that may be due to just a little bit more parity amongst the top, right? You saw Dabo and Clemson rise up and beat them, right, a couple times, going back to back. You saw Georgia give them a run for their money a couple times, right? They finally get them and stuff like that. Ole Miss beat them. So I think it's one of those situations where you're seeing Alabama can be beat, and they can be beat on the highest level, not just some random Saturday where they may not be paying attention. No, like some of these programs, when all the marbles on the table, they can beat them, you know?
I don't see their performance over the last 2.5 years being any different than in any other time in the Saban era.
Really? Maybe to find a result. I'm just talking about dominance, and maybe I have to do a deep dive into the numbers. I just feel like
I think they've been challenged by teams every year. I think they've had 2 or 3 close calls every year. Usually lose one game. They've had 2 undefeated championships, 09 and 20. That's pretty much what they did the last 2 years. And now this year they've lost in the last play of the game twice. I don't see the drop off myself.
I don't either.
Okay, well, let's go back to Nebraska. Go ahead, Des. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So
we're an Alabama show.
Yeah, sure. So my question to you is, if you had, and I won't say anybody, but essentially, do you have maybe 2 or 3 candidates that you'd like Nebraska to go after as far as end of this season, and maybe Mickey Joseph is one of those, but I'm curious to get, your thoughts on it of who they should go after and who you'd like to see come in. And then also too, obviously you run the Nebraska channel. What are fans saying as far as who they'd like to see come in to be the new head coach?
Well, I'll take the second part of that first here. A lot of the fans love Mickey Joseph. They fell in love with him before this all happened. Anyway, when he first got here as the associate head coach and wide receivers coach. But yeah, the one drawback with Mickey is that he has not been the CEO like this before. He's getting his first taste of it, and you do see, as a great of a job that he's done, there has been those moments during the game where, I think a seasoned and experienced head coach would have made a different call here or there that might have cost you, at least like a possession or give up a score or something. But, I think the dream guy would be Luke Fickell. he would be a perfect fit. But from everything I've heard is that he's not interested. Now that could change, but and when you after that, I mean, you kind of start thinking all these names that have been going back and forth, like a Matt Rule, and I think it was ridiculous the other day that Frank Reich is flying into Lincoln on a private jet, and we kind of got to let this thing settle down a little bit, wait for the regular season to get finished up. But obviously Chris Kleiman's a guy that fits the program very well, and he's been doing pretty good this year. There was a bit of a drop off, but now I think that his stock has gone back up a little bit. But yeah, just want to see somebody that is going to get, not like I'm not dismissing Mickey Joseph from getting the job, but you kind of do want to see somebody with a little bit more experience at the head position, where you're making a lot of decisions that he wasn't used to making right now. But in my opinion, he's come through with flying colors, though. Anyway, even if they have, they are kind of on the cusp again of missing a bowl game. That the ironic thing is that now with the last team to get bowl eligible, I think, what was it, Kansas? I think that Nebraska has now got the longest bowl game, non-bowl game streak of any Power 5 school in the country right now. So
it looks like that's going to change this year. I never thought I would say that Kansas football is in a much better place than Nebraska football.
It is right now.
I'm just saying, it's pretty remarkable to think about.
And and the key thing here too, and this is Trev Alberts got big time decisions going on, and I wouldn't put it past Trev Alberts right now that he already has his guy in mind, and if that is so, Mickey Joseph will be a part of this package as being retained on the staff. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Bush even is retained as well. So, and if you guys haven't seen, the construction going on with the new facility that's just going to be state of the art. It's so amazing looking that you've got every resource behind you in the world to excel and to get this program back to winning ways. So, and the money's not a question either. So, yeah, we're going to see. It's going to be really interesting here. Black Friday, I think after that Black Friday game at Iowa, you're probably going to have a press conference on that following Saturday, and we'll know more then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I'm not sure if Frank Wright is something reasonable. What do you think about? Do you think it would be feasible, or do you think Trev made a call to Matt Rule because he's been terminated now for a few weeks now? So do you think it's worth a phone call? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they've talked. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, they've talked. Trev's talking to everybody possible. He's not going to leave a stone unturned here. I think a lot of it too is you have to gauge somebody's interest in it as well. Because hey, you just can't dangle, like especially a guy that's being paid not to coach right now too.
True.
It's got to be a pretty good deal to. I mean, if you're getting $40 million for not coaching, why are you going to take a job for $6 million and go through all that headache and stuff you don't need to? So I don't think it's going to be, one of those NFL guys. I think it's more of a guy that's going to fit the Nebraska culture And that's why I think a guy like Luke Fickell would be perfect for that. So I don't know. Mark Munkin too is a guy that is very intriguing to me as well. I don't know how that would go over with the fan base here, but like I said, in about 3 weeks, I think we're gonna find out the answers to all these questions.
Yeah, and I think the sooner you can get that announced, the better. To let that coach, if he does have a staff already together, nonetheless, to be able to really hit the ground running with recruiting and just trying to build that class. Because the last thing you want to do is kind of draw this out to January, February, where you have some potential commits that are ready to sign but don't know who their next coach is going to be, and having those conversations. So I think the sooner they can get that done, the better, just to help this recruiting cycle and put that coach and Nebraska just in the best spot to succeed.
The ironic thing about that is the Nebraska is still recruiting at a high level. Just a couple weeks ago they landed a top 100 wide receiver, Malachi Coleman, out of Lincoln East here. Last week they landed a 3-star running back out of Louisiana. So Mickey Joseph factor here is strong. And, these guys are not committing here expecting Mickey Joseph not to be around here next year. So I think that right there tells you a lot more than, we know that this part of this staff is going to be here.
Yeah. And that might be I'm sure that weighs into the decision of, still being able to recruit at a high level with Mickey Joseph being the head man. That I'm sure is going to weigh heavily into the decision, where you say, well, listen, if these kids are committing to Nebraska and to Mickey Joseph, it makes sense to have him as the head man. I'm sure I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions, because I'm sure it's not easy. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
I mean, bottom line, I think he can do the job. But bottom line, he's learning on the job, on the job training right now, doing it. The good thing is that he has a lot of experience at every other level besides the NFL. But his family is a coaching family. I mean, his brother has been a head coach in the NFL. He has those resources that he talks to his brother every day. They talk about their days. And, if Mickey Joseph is named the head coach here, I would not be at all surprised that Vance Joseph shows up here as the new defensive coordinator.
Ooh, that would be a question. That'd be nice. Go ahead, Drew.
I have a question for you, Greg. I'm just curious, and I kind of want to use this question also to kind of gauge the temperature of my fellow Michigan fans. How excited would, or willing, or to accept would the Cornhusker Nation be to Cade McNamara transferring to Nebraska to be your starting quarterback?
I think that he would be welcomed with open arms and 100%. Everybody would love it.
Okay, because I think Cade, I think he's staying in the Big Ten. I think he's transferring, and I think he's staying in the Big Ten. And I like good storylines, and I want that kid to have success, and I think he can help a program like Nebraska, like Iowa, teams that have talent who should be in the mix, especially in the Big Ten West. And all I need is a quarterback that's capable of making the right throws at the right time.
Well, and if you're looking at the Nebraska quarterback situation right now, with Casey Thompson, Mickey Joseph yesterday said it was going to depend on how Casey Thompson practiced today. Mark Whipple, the offensive coordinator today, said it's going to depend on how he practices tomorrow. Now, then the follow-up was, did he throw today? No, he didn't throw today. So that kind of tips it off a little bit that now you're going to look at, either a Chubba Purdy or a Logan Smothers. And, so fast forward to next season, I think, and then if you add in the lone quarterback commit that Nebraska has in this class, William Pop Watson, He's a small guy. He's a Mark Whipple guy, and I don't think he has any other options besides coming here anyway. So, yeah, obviously the quarterback position is a huge question mark here moving into next season with Nebraska, because does Casey Thompson come back for one more year? He's already, I think he's already 24 years old. Yeah.
His car insurance is going to be going down next year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's right.
does
Hey,
he
look,
come
this is
back for
quarterback.
another year? And right now, Chuba Purdy has not looked very good. And you got Logan Smothers, who's been here for 3 years, that has been the number 3 guy each and every year.
Yeah, this transfer portal and extra 6 years, 7th year of eligibility. I mean, you're seeing these guys now, especially at the quarterback position, at crazy ages. I mean, it's a guy for North Texas starting quarterback it's North Texas. He's 29 years old. But it's just you're seeing, because starting quarterbacks for colleges now have families.
Yeah,
Married with kids.
Need an NIL deal to feed the family. Goodness gracious. I mean, it's more than just money in your pocket.
Isn't Hooker for Tennessee? I think he's 24 years old himself. I think
he's been around. Yeah, he's been around. Yeah.
I think I saw a stat that Hendon Hooker is older than Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson, and I think
insane.
2 other quarterbacks that are in the NFL right now.
Justin Fields. And,
Yeah.
How could that has to mess with you psychologically if you're like Hendon Hooker, because you're looking around and you see these kids in the NFL and they already on their about to get their second contract, and you are like, I'm just trying to make it, man. I'm just trying to get my shot.
I love school, man.
I love school. I'm here for school.
I mean, you get to a certain point. I mean, you probably got your degree, so it's probably just elective classes. I'm taking tennis, racquetball class, and football studies, all that type of stuff. So you just never know. These guys may just be hanging out, having a good old time. Eating good.
It's funny. I mean, you get to the point where as a quarterback, you're having more in common with your coaches than you are your teammates.
Hey, coach, who do you use for your car insurance? Yeah, I'm shopping rates.
Yeah. How's the wife? Yeah, my wife's good. Yeah, wife and kids good. Anyway, coach, I saw this on film. Yeah, after I put my kid to bed, those type of conversations. But anyway, Greg, look, one thing I learned last year is I take your word. When you say Nebraska's coming to play, Nebraska's coming to play, and you haven't quite given that much of an endorsement, which says a lot. You have a really good pulse of the team. Look, for their standpoint, they're a very proud program. You never want to see a program, and I'm similar. Not similar. I'm sure from the outside, people didn't want to see Michigan probably look as bad as they looked under the Rich Rod years. It's just not good for college football, or maybe some did, right? But I definitely think Nebraska, should be in the conversation, especially in the Big Ten West every year. And you just want to see those kids continue to fight and finish the season strong, because that was quite a big change. Scott Frost being canned, 3 games into the season?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The one thing that you got to take, I mean, they've been down since before Frost was hired here, and there's not a lot of other programs that you'll ever see that still fill up the stadium every Saturday and come out and support their team on the road as well. And, so you definitely have the backing here, and obviously, there's a group of, 8 to 10 blue blood programs, and Nebraska's one of them. And yeah, you're right. It's better for college football when all those programs are doing well. And I am confident that it'll get back there, sooner or later here, I don't even remember what a bowl trip is like anymore. So it's really depressing that I'm around during Christmas time. It's been for years now. 6 years. It's crazy. 7 years.
Man.
And no.
I can see it on your face, Greg. I can see it's wearing on you. I can see.
It's hard.
let me tell you something. Even the lower bowls are very humbling, man.
Yeah.
I never forgot how low I felt watching in 2013 Michigan play in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, where Shane Morris is starting, and I'm watching, and I'm like, we were 6-6 playing in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, and I think Kansas State was the team, and I just couldn't believe how far we had fallen. I'm like, what is this? Like, but hey, you gotta start
give my right pinky finger to go to that.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere.